Hello there, it's Josh Travers from Remo 3, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Jeff Ulatoski. Jeff is the product line manager of app virtualization and delivery for VMware's end user computing business. So welcome, Jeff. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And today, Jeff's going to talk to us about VMware's latest innovative release in the EUC space. Published apps on demand, which around here at Remo 3 we're very excited about because we love apps. For those of you that are listening, watching that aren't familiar, published apps on demand effectively builds on VMware's current apps on demand solution, which was powered by App Volumes. Now, from my understanding, with published apps, it's expanding the overall application support and is a keystone feature in VMware's overall Apps Everywhere vision, which will help organizations to simplify the application lifecycle management overall process. Now, I know I probably merely scratched the surface there, Jeff, but would you be able to provide us with some more detail around published apps on demand?
Absolutely, I'd love to. So published apps on demand is a feature particularly that we're really excited about. The idea around being able to get apps to the end user quickly without having to double hop from a desktop to the app really I feel helps the users get to where they need to go. Now, that being able to do that's been a technology that's been around for 25 years now. But where we come in is that we've actually made it so that we can build the servers dynamically as the users need apps on demand, hence the on demand in the name.
Now that we have a better understanding of what the overall solution entails, what I'm interested to understand is how this release is going to impact the business, right? As we know, in today's world, there's a ton of attention on cost and ROI, specifically as it relates to software. Can you spend a couple minutes and speak towards the business value that published apps on demand is bringing?
So for customers, especially those with a large number of farms, silos, delivery groups, basically segmentation of apps within different servers, often see that their servers have an underuse of those servers. So you typically over provision for that case of peak usage. And then obviously if you've got different pools, all managed with different goal images, now the idea there is that you've got unused capacity on those servers across the board throughout all those different app silos. So what we're looking at doing is being able to use that server more efficiently. So instead of giving users multiple sessions across multiple servers, be able to build that single session, kind of a duplication of the persona on the secure environment in your data center or in your cloud, and being able to provide those apps to that session. So it's something that allows the users to have that uniqueness because they are all using different apps at different times, and only really use the compute for that user when they're active. And it doesn't really matter if they've got 5, 6, 10 apps at that point provision to them. They're not launching multiple Windows sessions across those silos. So we see this as a way to look at the hard cost for servers. We know that obviously in this climate things have changed a little bit. We're looking for opportunities to do things more efficiently, but in any climate we're looking for those opportunities. Also, we're seeing we could potentially reduce the hardware footprint of those servers based on more efficient usage. And then, as I mentioned, secure delivery of the applications. Because we air gap those applications, you have like a ability, even if they bring their own device, they have malware on it, whatever it may be, we're doing basically keyboard, video, mouse for that particular application to the end user. So they're able to use it on their device like they would expect any app would function. But it's air gapped and running safely and securely on your own servers.
Thanks again, Jeff. It makes perfect sense. And it does sound like there's a lot of compelling business value that's backing this release. Cost being always key. I think what else I heard in there was the reduction of the hardware footprint. That's also extremely important. As I'm having a lot of discussions, our partner ecosystems are having a lot of discussions. This is a very common initiative that we're working with our customers to achieve, right? The reduction of that hardware footprint and the maximizing of the efficiencies. And while all of the business value makes perfect sense, if we could drill down a bit further, and would you be able to speak towards the specific value to IT? Now, I'm asking about the administrators, the engineers, the delivery and support teams. These are the contributors that are often faced with the common app challenge that I believe that Publish Apps on Demands is helping to solve.
And just to tie in from the last points there you were making, helping to reduce that that cost on-prem is a good way to also migrate to the cloud. You don't want to necessarily lift everything up to the cloud where you maybe end up spending money to rent those servers. So if you're able to optimize ahead of time, it really helps. And that's one of the challenges of the IT business, is really figuring out not only how to manage costs, both from a CapEx perspective, capital expenditures, but also operational expenditures. So the OpEx costs there, for example, how the IT admins can work together with the business. A lot of times what we see is that, because you gotta manage apps anyway, but a lot of times what we see is that a couple of different things happening. One, software just doesn't get updated, right? They decide that, I can't be nimble, I can't be agile, because my processes or lack of processes are just too complex to manage these apps. The second thing is, and so app management and being able to provide better app management is really key. The second thing is separating the desktop admin tasks from app management, being able to say, hey, I've got different people in the organization that have different knowledge and different understanding. The desktop admin doesn't necessarily know what every single app does and how every single user uses it. That's what the super users and the end users know, right? So being able to provide the tools that help them work together is also very key. So not just the better app management and then the better tools across the multiple personas in IT, but also enabling the app owners, the ones that actually have the ownership of these assets. They may not even be, sometimes they are in IT, but they may not even be in IT. And so being able to make sure you're partnering with the business as an IT professional is really powerful in the company being able to operate at its highest efficiency. And so being able to provide tools that help, just general better app management capabilities and giving you better ways to manage apps, being able to separate those roles so that the different IT, that IT help desk person that's maybe more of a generalist and the desktop admin can share the tasks and responsibilities, and then even be able to bring that capability to the business, maybe even letting the business capture an app themselves. Instead of actually needing to go through a packaging team and taking 6 months to get that into the next image. So we've resolved all of that, and that's what we're really excited to do. And it's not something that came in overnight. It's something that we've been doing. And this new feature, Published Apps on Demand, just builds on that value that we have.
Increased application management capabilities is always top of my wish list, right? When I'm collaborating with customers, partners, and I think you nailed it there, right? Applications aren't all the same shape or size, right? The complexity is there. They're all unique in their own regard. What I'll also comment as well is, in whenever you can clear the lines of responsibilities that may have previously or just became blurred, it always equals a positive outcome. And we're seeing more and more of that situation, specifically around just the mass digital transformation initiatives that all of our customers are working towards. Outside of the business and the IT, I like this theme and want to keep it rolling. So if we go down even a level further, what about the value to the end user, right? The end user, the ones that are using the apps, because at least in my experience, if there is going to be an issue or a complaint, et cetera, it's coming from that end user persona.
I want to say that we had this all planned out from the beginning, but what we realized is this feature and the way it enabled the ability of the roles to work independently but collaboratively. Those were things that we had in mind, and how to make the IT admin's life easier. What we really found is that actually this is all about the end user, and so the functionality that we did with the IT admin was helpful in providing it, making it easier, but that also ended up making it better for the end user. So first off, enabling a technology that 25 years ago was set in place this technology was done first, and for good reason. This was in my mind, this was the most compelling technology. It just had challenges scaling, trying to manage these silos, trying to manage these farms and delivery groups, very complex. And so what we can do is bring back to that initial value, which was jump straight to the app. If I have an app, I don't want to necessarily click and go to that app and then click again and launch the app. Or go to the desktop and then click again and launch the app. That's what we're doing here, is we're saying we can go straight to the app. And that's a value that's been there. It's just been hard to scale on the back end. But if we take a look at what that value does a little bit further, is it allows you to bring any device. And this is kind of a bring your own device world we're getting into. Everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody's got the capabilities of using their own devices, and they have preference on what those devices are. Some people like a really big screen. Maybe they even need a really big screen. Some people would prefer the smallest thing they can put in their jeans pocket, not have it seem like they're leaning to one side. These are the kinds of things that people, the actual end users, really affect their day-to-day life. And so being able to access and being able to have, like, maybe you will have an Apple device, or maybe you have a Chromebook because of cost. Maybe you have different devices that users bring. Maybe they have an Android and an Apple iPhone. What do we do with that? Well, we can bring those apps to the device that feels and looks like it's supposed to look on that device. So instead of, again, going back to the original thing, opening a Windows desktop, trying to open pinch the start bar, click the start bar, and then find the actual app and then have it launch, or having to have a bunch of icons that you can click on the desktop, you can just go straight to the app and the app launches in that device. And I think the most important thing that this feature brings, that's new and innovative, is now, because the apps are brought together on the session, the user has a duality on their work life and their home life. If they have a device, the device is, again, air gapped with what's running securely on that server. Well, that works great, but if the apps are on different silos, then they have a disjointed experience. You can't copy paste between them unless you enable that through the client. The OLE, the COM, all the shared registry keys, and the way these apps work together won't work across server instances. And so what you're able to do with this app, since you bring the user to a session and you bring the apps to the session, and then the user can just launch and use those apps, even though they're in independent windows on that native device that you have, those apps work as the user would expect. If you do help about in an application and it opens a web browser, it'll open a tab in the current web browser you have open. So all that capability that they would have if they were on that Windows session is manifesting right inside your device and working the way you'd expect.
It's clear to me that this was a well thought out release, right? All the way from the business value down to the end user and the gains from there. And, it's very clear that it's only going to strengthen VMware's position as a leader in the EUC space that we all live in. One question I did have as it relates to the tech is, when we were doing the opening, I mentioned earlier that the published apps on demand is built on top of the existing apps on demand, which is powered by App Volumes. Does published apps on demand require Horizon?
That's a good question. So Horizon published apps on demand does require Horizon. So that's an integration that we've done between App Volumes and Horizon for the first time. So that allows you to be able to manage your entitlements straight from Horizon, and it automatically will give you the apps, and the App Volumes will power those apps to the servers as needed. So that is what we would call Horizon published apps on demand. If you're using something, let's say like potentially Citrix or another, if you're in that particular capability, we're using Citrix virtual apps, and you want to leverage a lot of the benefits that we talked about, there's a capability where you can call an app run, and you can add those into that Citrix environment as well. So that's a capability that we've brought for apps on demand. And so you can have basically apps on demand for Citrix virtual apps in that particular case. So we want to make sure that our customers have the options. That's one of the biggest key charters of App Volumes. One of the biggest key charters that we've had with our products is being able to make sure customers have options. Our customers can't always replace all the infrastructure components, but we don't want to keep them from getting to this value, because we feel that the ability to be able to deliver your apps efficiently as you can see, it goes for the business, IT admins, and end users alike. So we're excited to be able to offer this to as many customers as possible, regardless of their underlying infrastructure.
Absolutely. And, congratulations to you, Jeff, and everyone on your team involved with this release. Where can I and anyone listening, watching, where can they go to get more information?
So I think obviously VMware.com App Volumes page is a great place to get information about App Volumes. If you're interested in the Horizon piece where there's integration with Horizon, you can go get information there. Also, we have a UC blog, which is continually updated with information around the products. You can even get down and dive into App Volumes there or Horizon there. And we tag those articles so you can see them in the places that are relevant. So there's lots of capabilities and lots of options for you to be able to find those pieces of information. And then I think we have one other place that you can go, we call Tech Zone, which is an area where you can get more technical in-depth articles for those that are looking for that type of information. But a good place to start might be the blogs and the product pages.
Fantastic. We'll be sure to add those links into the description on the video here as well. That's all the time that we have today. A big thank you again, Jeff, for joining and speaking to us about published apps on demand. Really appreciate it.
Likewise, Josh. I appreciate you having me. This was a fun time.
Remo 3 fully automates pre-production compatibility testing, package modernization, and migration of your Windows application estate. From migration to maintenance, Remo 3's intelligent unattended automation eliminates the need for scripting, specific expertise, or complex configuration. Your apps, your workspace, our priority.